The first snowfall of the season blanketed the streets of Seattle like a fresh beginning. But for Ethan Collins, it felt more like the cold reminder of everything he'd lost. His once bustling life as a photojournalist had dwindled into stillness, his wife, gone to cancer 2 years ago, his career, paused indefinitely after a mental breakdown in Tunisia, and his connection to the world, lost in a fog of antidepressants and unanswered calls. He sat in the corner booth of Café Leora, a quiet little place tucked between a bookstore and a flower shop. The kind of spot you stumble upon when you're lost and not really looking. He came here most mornings, not for the coffee, which was mediocre, but for the anonymity. No one asked questions. No one expected him to smile. But on that day, something changed. He noticed her. She was sitting 2 tables away, staring out the frosted window with a faraway look in her hazel eyes. A red wool beanie clung to her head, and a charcoal sketchbook lay open in front of her, half filled with pencil-drawn faces. She was maybe in her mid-20s. Fragile, like someone stitched together by willpower alone. Ethan wouldn't have thought much more about her if not for the moment she left. She stood up suddenly, clutched her coat tight around her, and walked out, leaving her untouched muffin and a receipt tucked beneath her cup. It fluttered slightly in the breeze of the closing door. And for reasons he couldn't explain, Ethan got up, walked over, and flipped the receipt. Scrawled in neat cursive were 5 words. "Meet me before I die." His breath caught. His first instinct was to brush it off. A prank. A note meant for someone else. But something about the urgency in those words, the sorrow behind the handwriting, it tugged at something dormant in his heart. He turned and dashed out the cafe. She was already halfway down the block. "Hey," he called. "Hey, wait." She turned, startled. Her eyes narrowed as she took in the tall, scruffy man approaching her. "Do I know you?" Ethan held up the receipt. "You left this." She stared at it for a moment. Then she sighed, her breath forming a pale cloud in the winter air. "I didn't think anyone would actually read it." "Well, I did," he said, his voice softer now. "What does it mean?" She hesitated. "Then, come walk with me." Her name was Lena Marlowe. She was 26. Born in Montana. Came to Seattle 5 years ago with dreams of becoming an artist. Those dreams, she said with a bitter smile, hadn't panned out. And then she told him the truth. "I was diagnosed with ALS a year ago. I thought I had time. But it's progressing fast. The doctor said maybe 6 months left, and that was 4 months ago." Ethan didn't speak. Couldn't. The pain in her voice was too familiar. "I come to that cafe every morning," she continued. "Sketch strangers. Imagine their lives. And today I just thought, what if, before I go, someone finally saw me? Not the girl who's dying, not the patient, not the charity case. Just me. So I left the note." She looked up at him, her eyes glistening. "And now here you are." From that day on, Ethan met Lena every morning at the cafe. They talked about everything and nothing, her childhood dog, his favorite books, her failed art school application, the first time he held a camera. Sometimes they just sat in silence. Comfortable. Healing. And slowly, something changed in Ethan. He found himself wanting to wake up. Wanting to show up. He dusted off his old Nikon, took photos of her sketching in the golden morning light. He started journaling again. Smiling again. And Lena. Lena bloomed like the last wildflower in autumn. Her laugh, rare and radiant, became Ethan's favorite sound. Her eyes, though tired, sparkled with a mischief that hinted she hadn't given up, not yet. Then one morning, she wasn't at the cafe. Ethan waited 2 hours. Called the number she'd scribbled in his notebook weeks ago. Voicemail. He called a hospital. She was there. Collapsed at home. The room smelled of disinfectant and winter roses. Her sketchbook lay open on the windowsill beside a vase of wildflowers Ethan had brought. He sat beside her, his hand wrapped around hers, trembling. "I'm not ready," he whispered. "You can't go yet." Lena looked at him, weak but smiling. "Then help me finish something." "What?" "My list." She pulled out a crumpled paper from beneath her blanket. "I never got to live much. But maybe I can do some things before I go. Just little things. With you. At the top of the list. 1. Watch the sun rise at the beach. 2. Dance in the snow. 3. Paint something huge. 4. Laugh until I cry. 5. Feel real love." Ethan's throat tightened. "Okay," he said, voice cracking. "Let's start today." In the following weeks, Seattle witnessed the most unlikely pair. A frail girl with trembling hands and a man with a camera and grief in his bones, chasing moments like they were running out of time. They drove to the coast one morning and watched the sun spill gold across the Pacific. She cried. He held her. They danced in the snowfall outside the cafe, people clapping as she twirled in her red beanie, laughing until she collapsed in his arms. He bought her the largest canvas he could find and helped her paint a mural on his apartment wall. It was chaotic and imperfect and breathtaking. One evening, over hot cocoa and jazz music, Lena leaned her head on his shoulder and whispered, "I think I've checked number 5. He turned to her. "Feel real love?" She nodded, eyes closed. "With you." She passed away 3 weeks later. Peacefully. In her sleep. A smile on her lips. She'd asked Ethan not to be there for the end, said she wanted his last memory of her to be the day she painted the sky. He honored that. But he didn't say goodbye. Instead, he turned her story into something that would never die. Months later, The Girl at the Cafe became a global viral documentary. Ethan used all the footage he'd taken, her laughing in the snow, painting with trembling hands, sipping coffee, eyes wide as she watched the sunrise. He narrated it with the quiet ache of someone who'd been changed forever. She left a note that said, "Meet me before I die." I did. And in the short time I knew her, she reminded me how to live. The video spread like wildfire, millions of views, thousands of messages from people who said Lena's story gave them hope, pushed them to call their parents, hug their children, forgive someone, or start living again. Lena's final sketch was used as the closing frame. It was a drawing of a sunrise over the ocean. In the corner, written in pencil. "Don't wait. Meet life before it's too late." Café Leora now has a plaque by the corner booth. In memory of Lena Marlowe, who reminded us all that life is made of small, beautiful moments. Leave a note. Live a little. Love a lot. Ethan still visits the cafe every morning. Now, instead of anonymity, he's surrounded by people who leave notes, smile at strangers, and remember that one girl, who in her final days, chose to meet the world, and in doing so, taught it how to live.